The alarm bells rang through the research station as Dr. Kethfer looked at his screen for the third time. The readings could not be right. No planet could be this dangerous and still have life on it. He checked the sensors again, but the data was the same. The third planet from the yellow star was covered in poison. Kethfer had been studying planets for over 200 years. He had seen worlds with acid rain, planets where the ground was made of sharp crystals, and places where the air would kill you in seconds. But this planet was different. This planet had everything wrong with it at the same time. The surface was covered with a liquid that could eat through metal. The creatures that lived there called it water, but Kethfer knew better. Any liquid that could dissolve so many things had to be dangerous. The worst part was that the life forms on this planet actually lived in this poison. They drank it, swam in it, and used it to grow their food. The air was even worse. The planet's atmosphere was filled with a gas that would burn through most materials. The gas made up over 20% of the air. Kethfer could not understand how anything could breathe something so deadly. But on his homeworld, even tiny amounts of this gas had to be handled with special equipment. The weather on this planet was like nothing he had ever seen. Massive storms moved across the surface with winds that could knock down buildings. The storms brought lightning that could kill anyone caught outside. In some places, water fell from the sky so hard it could hurt you. In other places, the water froze and fell as chunks of ice. The planet's core was active in ways that scared Kethfer. The ground shook regularly as pieces of the planet's surface moved around. Mountains exploded and shot hot rock into the air. The moving ground created waves in the oceans that were as tall as buildings. Any city built on this planet would be destroyed within years, but the life forms were the most frightening part. Kethfer had never seen so many different ways for creatures to kill each other. There were animals with long, sharp teeth that hunted other animals. There were creatures that could inject poison with their bite. Some plants could actually eat animals that got too close. The small creatures were just as bad. Tiny organisms lived everywhere on the planet. Many of them could make larger creatures sick or even kill them. The planet's inhabitants had to fight these tiny killers every day just to stay alive. Their bodies had special systems just to fight off these microscopic enemies. Even the plants were dangerous. Some of them had thorns that could cut you. Others had poison in their leaves or fruit. There were plants that would grab onto animals and slowly digest them. The whole planet seemed designed to kill anything that tried to live there. Kethfer sent his report to the Galactic Council. He recommended that the planet be marked as a Class 12 Deathworld, the highest danger rating. They had no ship should go near it. No one should try to contact whatever creatures lived there. The planet was too dangerous for any civilized species to visit. 3 days later, Kethfer got a message that changed everything. The creatures on the Deathworld had technology. It built ships that could travel between stars. They had somehow survived long enough to develop science and engineering. The council was calling an emergency meeting. Jake Morrison was fixing a broken sensor when the computer started beeping. He had been working alone on the research station for 6 months. The station orbited a red star for light years from Earth. Jake's job was to watch for signals from space and study the nearby star systems. The beeping meant the computer had found something new. Jake floated over to the main screen and saw a message that made his heart race. The computer had picked up a transmission from somewhere in deep space. The message was not from Earth. Jake had been hoping for this moment his whole life. He had joined the deep space program because he wanted to be the first person to make contact with aliens. Now, as he looked at the strange symbols on his screen, he realized his dream might be coming true. The computer worked for hours to translate the message. Jake watched as the symbols slowly changed into words he could understand. The message was about Earth. The aliens had been watching his home planet. As Jake read the translation, his excitement turned to confusion. The message talked about Earth like it was the most dangerous place in the galaxy. The aliens called it a death world. They said no one should go near it. They were afraid of the creatures that lived there. Jake could not believe what he was reading. The aliens were afraid of humans. They thought Earth was too dangerous to visit. They had classified his homeworld as a place where nothing should be able to live. The message contained detailed reports about Earth's environment. The aliens had studied the planet's weather its oceans, and its life forms. Everything that seemed normal to Jake was described as deadly and frightening. The aliens could not understand how anything could survive on such a hostile world. Jake thought about his childhood on Earth. He remembered swimming in the ocean, hiking in the mountains, and playing outside during thunderstorms. These were normal activities for humans. But according to the aliens, these activities would be impossible for most creatures in the galaxy. The more Jake read, the more he understood how different humans were from other species. The aliens came from worlds where everything was safe and peaceful. They had never faced the challenges that made humans strong. They had never had to fight for survival the way humans did every day. Jake realized that humans had an advantage they never knew about. Earth had made them tough. The dangerous conditions on their homeworld had forced them to become survivors. While other species had lived easy lives, humans had learned to overcome any obstacle. The message also contained coordinates for a meeting place. The aliens wanted to study humans from a safe distance. They were curious about the creatures that could survive on a Deathworld, but they were too afraid to come to Earth. Jake knew he had to report this to Earth immediately. This was the most important discovery in human history. Humanity was not alone in the galaxy, but they were unique. The aliens saw humans as something special and dangerous. As Jake prepared his report, he smiled. Humans had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they were not alone, but they were definitely different. The galaxy was full of life, but Earth was the only world that had created creatures like humans. The aliens had labeled Earth a death world, and Jake was beginning to understand that this might be humanity's greatest strength. If Earth was considered too dangerous for other species, then humans were the only ones who could handle the really difficult challenges in the galaxy. Jake sent his message to Earth and waited for a response. He knew that everything was about to change. First contact with aliens was no longer a dream. It was about to become reality. And thanks to their Deathworld origins, humans were going to approach this meeting from a position of strength. The aliens thought they were studying dangerous creatures from a hostile world. They had no idea that these creatures were actually excited to meet them. Jake could hardly wait to see what would happen when two very different types of life forms finally came face to face. Earth had been labeled a death world by the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. For the first time in his life, Jake Morrison was proud to call such a dangerous place his home. Dr. Lisa Carter laughed so hard she almost fell off her chair. She had been reading Jake Morrison's report for the third time, and it still seemed impossible to believe. The aliens thought Earth was a death world because of water, oxygen, and thunderstorms. They were scared of sharks and tigers. They had never seen anything like Earth's weather. Lisa worked at the Global Research Center in Geneva. She had spent her whole career studying life on other planets, trying to guess what alien creatures might look like. She had imagined many different possibilities, but she had never thought that aliens might be afraid of Earth. The alien database that Jake had sent was full of information about other worlds in the galaxy. Lisa studied each planet carefully. Most of them were quiet, peaceful places where nothing dangerous ever happened. The aliens had evolved on worlds with gentle weather, shallow seas, and creatures that looked more like living plants than animals. On the planet Vethra, the most dangerous creature was something like a earth butterfly. It had soft wings and ate flower nectar. The Vethrians considered it a fierce predator because it sometimes competed with other creatures for food. Lisa compared this to Earth's lions, sharks, and bears. No wonder the aliens were frightened. The planet Zenthos had weather that never changed. The temperature was always the same, and rain fell gently for exactly 1 hour each day. The aliens who lived there had never experienced a thunderstorm, a hurricane, or even a strong wind. They had no idea what it was like to live with unpredictable weather. Lisa called a meeting with the world's top scientists and government leaders. She needed to share what she had learned and help them understand what this meant for humanity. The meeting was held in secret because the news was too important to share with the public yet. General Sway Adams represented the military. He listened. carefully as Lisa explained how the aliens saw Earth. When she finished, he asked the question that everyone was thinking about. Should humanity tell the aliens the truth about Earth? Or should they let the aliens keep believing Earth was extremely dangerous? Dr. Paul Green from the space agency had a different concern. He wanted to know if the aliens were a threat to Earth. If they were afraid of humans, they might decide to attack before humans became too powerful. Lisa explained that the aliens seemed more curious than hostile, but she could not be sure. President Nancy Walsh joined the meeting by video link. She had been briefed on the situation and was ready to make some difficult decisions. The first question was whether to make contact with the aliens. The second question was how to present humanity to these frightened creatures. Lisa suggested that they should be honest about Earth's conditions but let the aliens draw their own conclusions. If the aliens wanted to think that humans were dangerous because they lived on a death world, that might actually be helpful. It would make the aliens respect humans and be careful about how they treated them. The president agreed to authorize first contact. Captain Sam Rodriguez was chosen to lead the mission. He was experienced in dealing with difficult situations and had a reputation for staying calm under pressure. His job would be to represent all of humanity in the most important meeting in human history. Sam's crew included communications specialist Amy Walsh, who had studied every piece of information about alien languages. She would be responsible for making sure humans and aliens could understand each other. The crew also included Dr. Ben Parker, a historian who would explain human culture and history to the aliens. The aliens had suggested a meeting place in empty space between star systems. They wanted to stay far away from Earth and any other dangerous planets. Sam's ship, the New Horizon, was smaller than most alien vessels, but it was built to handle the kind of conditions that aliens found terrifying. As the New Horizon traveled toward the meeting point, Sam and his crew prepared for contact. They studied the alien database and learned about the different species in the Galactic Council. Each species had evolved on safe, quiet worlds where conflict was rare and danger was almost unknown. The Zenthari were tall, thin creatures with pale skin and large eyes. They lived on a planet with no predators and no dangerous weather. Their cities were made of delicate crystal that would shatter an Earth's weakest earthquake. They had never experienced violence or competition for resources. The Korathi were short, round beings who lived on a water world. Their oceans were warm and calm, with no storms or dangerous currents. The largest creature in their seas was about the size of Earth's goldfish. They had never seen anything like Earth's whales, sharks, or giant squids. The Villani were plant-like creatures who got their energy from their sun. They had never needed to hunt for food or compete with other species. Their world had no seasons, no weather changes, and no natural disasters. They could not understand how creatures could survive on a world where conditions changed constantly. Amy studied the alien languages and discovered something interesting. Most alien species had no words for many concepts that humans took for. Granted, they had no word for war, because they had never fought each other. They had no word for predator, because nothing on their worlds hunted other creatures. They had no word for survival, because their lives had always been easy. Ben prepared presentations about human history and culture. He realized that almost everything humans had done would seem impossible to the aliens. Human sports would look like torture to creatures who had never experienced physical challenge. Human art and music about struggle and conflict would be completely alien to species who had never faced hardship. The more the crew learned about alien civilization, the more they understood how unique humans were. Earth had created a species that was tough, adaptable, and capable of handling any challenge. The aliens had created peaceful societies. They had never learned to overcome difficult situations. Sam realized that this first contact would be unlike anything humans had imagined. Instead of meeting advanced beings who were superior to humans, they were meeting creatures who were terrified of what humans considered normal life. The roles were reversed from what everyone had expected. The New Horizon reached the meeting point and waited. Soon, alien ships appeared on the sensors. The alien fleet was enormous, with dozens of vessels staying far away from the human ship. Sam could see that the aliens were taking no chances with the dangerous creatures from the Deathworld. The first message from the aliens was cautious and formal. They expressed amazement that humans had developed space travel while living on such a hostile world. They wanted to learn how humans had survived conditions that would destroy most civilizations. Sam sent back a simple message. He invited the aliens to come closer so they could talk more easily. The response was immediate and nervous. The aliens would not approach the human ship. They were afraid that humans might attack them. They had no experience with creatures that had evolved through competition and conflict. Amy suggested that humans should go to the alien ships instead. This would show that humans were not aggressive and would make the aliens feel safer. Sam agreed, and they prepared to transfer to the alien flagship. As they approached the alien ship, Sam noticed how different it was from human vessels. The alien ship was beautiful, but fragile-looking. It was designed for travel between safe worlds, not for handling dangerous conditions. The contrast with the sturdy human ship was obvious. The airlock opened, and Sam got his first look at real aliens. They were wearing full protective suits, even though the atmosphere was safe for both species. The aliens were so afraid of humans that they would not take any chances. Ambassador Kethfer greeted the humans nervously. He had been chosen to represent the Galactic Council because he was the one who had first studied Earth. He was curious about humans, but he was also terrified of what creatures from a death world might do. Sam smiled and extended his hand in greeting. The alien stepped back in fear. Sam realized that even the most basic human gestures might seem threatening too. Creatures who had never experienced aggression. This was going to be a very interesting conversation. The meeting room on the alien ship was unlike anything Sam Rodriguez had ever seen. The walls were made of a material that looked like glowing crystal, and the furniture seemed to grow from the floor like plants. Everything was smooth and soft, with no sharp edges or hard surfaces. Even the lights were gentle, casting a warm glow that reminded Sam of candlelight. Ambassador Kethfer sat across from the humans, still wearing his protective suit. 3 other alien representatives were present, each from a different species. They all looked nervous, as if they expected the humans to attack at any moment. Sam noticed that the aliens had positioned themselves near the exits, ready to run if necessary. Amy Walsh activated the translation device and began the formal greetings. She spoke slowly and carefully, making sure every word was clear. The aliens listened intently, their large eyes never leaving the humans. When Amy finished, it was a long silence before Kethfer responded. Kethfer's voice was soft and musical, completely different from human speech. He welcomed the humans and expressed amazement that they had survived long enough to develop space travel. He said that no other species in the galaxy had ever faced such dangerous conditions and lived to tell about it. Dr. Ben Parker opened his datapad and began the cultural exchange. He had prepared carefully for this moment, choosing images and information that would help the aliens understand human civilization. He started with pictures of Earth from space, showing the blue oceans and white clouds that made the planet look beautiful and peaceful. But when Ben showed closer images of Earth's surface, the aliens reacted with shock and horror. They saw massive storms swirling across the oceans with lightning that could kill and winds that could destroy buildings. They saw hurricanes that were bigger than some of their cities, and tornadoes that could tear apart anything in their path. The Karathi representative, a round creature named Belthus, asked how humans could live with such terrible weather. Explained that humans had learned to predict storms and build shelters that could protect them. He showed images of human cities designed to survive earthquakes and hurricanes. The aliens were amazed by human architecture. Their own buildings were made of delicate materials that would break in Earth's gentlest breeze. They could not understand how humans had learned to build structures strong enough to survive natural disasters. Ben showed them pictures of human homes, schools, and hospitals. He explained how humans had created safe spaces in the middle of a dangerous world. The aliens listened with growing respect as they realized that humans were not just surviving on their death world. They were thriving. Next, Ben displayed images of Earth's wildlife. The aliens watched in fascination and terror. As they saw lions hunting on the African plains, they saw great white sharks swimming in the oceans, and eagles soaring through the sky. Every animal seemed designed for hunting and fighting. The Villani representative, a plant-like being called Cythera, asked about the smaller creatures. Ben showed them images of insects, bacteria, and viruses. He explained how humans had to fight microscopic enemies every day just to stay healthy. The aliens could not believe that any species could survive. Constant attacks from invisible creatures. Ben described the human immune system, the body's natural defense against disease. He explained how human children were exposed to germs and bacteria to make their immune systems stronger. The aliens were horrified by this idea. On their worlds, any contact with harmful microorganisms was carefully avoided. The presentation moved to human food and agriculture. Ben showed images of farms, gardens, and the process of growing food. The aliens were shocked to learn that humans ate other living creatures. Most galactic species got their nutrition from plants or artificial sources. The idea of hunting and eating animals was completely alien to them. When Ben showed images of human fishing and hunting, the aliens became even more disturbed. They saw humans diving into dangerous waters to catch fish and tracking wild animals through forests. These activities looked like extreme sports to the aliens, not normal ways of getting food. The Zenthari representative, a tall, thin being named Vextel, asked about human recreation. Ben had prepared for this question, but he knew the answer would shock the aliens. He began with relatively safe activities like swimming and hiking. But even these seemed dangerous to creatures who had never left their safe cities. Ben showed images of humans surfing massive waves, climbing tall mountains, and skiing down steep slopes. He explained that humans did these activities for fun, not because they had to. The aliens could not understand why anyone would choose to put themselves in danger for entertainment. The presentation included human sports, and this was where the aliens became truly frightened. They watched videos of football, boxing, and martial arts. They saw humans deliberately fighting each other, hitting each other, competing in ways that looked like warfare to the peaceful aliens. Commander Vextel asked if humans were naturally violent. Sam answered carefully, explaining that humans had learned to control their aggressive instincts, said that sports and competition were ways for humans to challenge themselves without causing real harm, but the aliens were not convinced. They had seen enough to understand that humans were unlike any other species in the galaxy. Humans were predators who had evolved through millions of years of competition and conflict. They were creatures who found danger exciting and challenges enjoyable. Amy began the second part of the presentation, showing alien worlds to the humans. The contrast was amazing. Alien planets were beautiful but incredibly peaceful. There were no storms, no dangerous animals, and no natural disasters. The weather was always perfect, and the landscapes looked like gardens. Ben studied the images of alien cities and was amazed by their delicate beauty. The buildings were made of crystalline light, growing organically from the ground. There were no walls or defenses because there was nothing to defend against. The aliens had never experienced war, crime, or violence. The alien societies were equally peaceful. They had no police, no military, and no weapons. Conflicts were resolved through discussion and compromise. The idea of physical confrontation was completely foreign to them. They had achieved perfect harmony on their worlds. As the cultural exchange continued, both sides began to understand just how different they were. The aliens had created paradise worlds where everything was safe and comfortable. Humans had conquered a death world and turned it into home. The aliens had evolved beyond conflict. Humans had learned to thrive through challenge. Sam realized that this difference could be either humanity's greatest strength or its greatest weakness. If the aliens saw humans as dangerous savages, they might decide to destroy Earth before humans became a threat. But if they saw humans as valuable allies, they might welcome them into galactic civilization. The meeting was interrupted by an emergency message from the alien fleet. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching the meeting point. The aliens immediately panicked, thinking they were under attack. But when they analyzed the readings, they discovered it was just a small asteroid moving through space. Sam, watched in amazement as the entire alien fleet prepared to retreat from a harmless piece of rock. The aliens had advanced technology, but they had no experience with unexpected dangers. They were so used to their safe, predictable worlds that even a small surprise could cause panic. This incident revealed something important about the relationship between humans and aliens. The aliens had incredible knowledge and technology, but they lacked the experience to handle dangerous situations. Humans had less advanced technology, but they had spent their entire evolutionary history learning to deal with threats and challenges. As the meeting ended, both sides had learned valuable lessons. The aliens now understood that humans were not just survivors of a death world, but masters of it. Humans had discovered that they possessed skills and abilities that were completely unique in the galaxy. Sam prepared to return to his ship, knowing that this first contact had changed everything. The aliens would never again see humans as simple creatures from a dangerous world. They now understood that humans were something special, something that had never existed in galactic civilization before. The question now was what would happen next. Would the aliens welcome humans as partners, or would they see them as a threat that needed to be controlled? The answer would determine the future of both species. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with nervous energy as representatives from 7 different species gathered to discuss the human problem. For 3 weeks, they had been debating what to do about the creatures from the Deathworld. Wanted to welcome humans into galactic civilization, others wanted to keep them isolated. A few even suggested that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to spread beyond their home system. High Counselor Zethrin of the Hegemony called the meeting to order. The ancient being had lived for over 800 years and had seen many species join the galactic community, but humans were different from anything he had encountered before. They were intelligent and civilized, but they came from a world that should have been impossible to survive. Counselor Meltara of the Peaceful Worlds Alliance spoke first. She represented the largest group in the council, species that had achieved perfect harmony on their home planets. She was concerned that humans might bring violence and chaos to the galaxy. Their history was filled with wars, conflicts, and competition. How could such creatures be trusted with advanced technology? But Counselor Vexthal of the Zenthari Empire disagreed. He had been present at the first contact meeting and had seen humans up close. They were not mindless savages. They had developed space travel, advanced science, and complex societies. They had overcome challenges that would have destroyed most species. Perhaps the galaxy could learn from them. The debate continued for hours, but no decision was reached. Finally, High Counselor Zethrin made a proposal. Instead of arguing about humans, they should test them. The Council would give humans a series of challenges to see if they could be trusted with membership in galactic civilization. The first test would be diplomatic. The Council would send a human representative to negotiate with multiple alien species. At once, each species had different customs, languages, and ways of thinking. Many experienced diplomats had failed this test. If humans could succeed, it would show they could work peacefully with other species. Ambassador Ray Collins was chosen for this challenge. He had spent years studying alien cultures and languages. He was calm, patient, and skilled at finding solutions that worked for everyone. But even Ray was nervous as he prepared for the most complex, diplomatic mission in human history. The negotiation took place on the neutral station of Harmony. Ray found himself in a room with 7 different alien species, each with their own agenda. The Karathi wanted exclusive trading rights in their sector. The Villani demanded protection for their sacred growing worlds. The Zenthari sought access to rare minerals for their technology. What made the negotiation even more difficult was that each species communicated differently. The Karathi spoke in musical tones that changed meaning based on pitch. The Villani used chemical signals that Ray could only understand through a special translator. The Zenthari expressed themselves through color changes in their skin. Ray spent 3 days learning each species' needs and finding ways to help them work together. He discovered that the Karathi had minerals the Zenthari needed, while the Zenthari had technology that could help the Villani protect their worlds. By the end of the week, Ray had created a trade agreement that satisfied everyone. The aliens were amazed by Ray's success. They had never seen anyone navigate such complex negotiations so skillfully. Ray explained that humans had learned to work with many different groups on Earth. With hundreds of countries and cultures, humans had centuries of experience in finding peaceful solutions to difficult problems. The second test was technological. The Council had been struggling with a problem for over 50 years. There was a region of space filled with quantum storms that made travel impossible. The storms moved randomly and could destroy any ship that got too close. The Council needed a way to cross this region safely. Engineer Michelle Torres was given access to the alien databases and asked to find a solution. She studied the quantum storms for weeks, learning how they formed and how they moved. The alien approach had always been to avoid the storms or wait for them to pass. Michelle had a different idea. Instead of avoiding the storms, Michelle designed a ship that could survive them. She used human engineering principles, creating a vessel that was strong enough to withstand the quantum forces. The ship had multiple backup systems, reinforced hull plating, and energy shields that could adapt to changing conditions. The aliens were shocked by Michelle's approach. They had never considered building something strong enough to survive the storms. Their technology was advanced but delicate. They preferred to work around problems rather than face them directly. Michelle's solution was typically human. When you can't avoid danger, you build something tough enough to handle it. The test ship was built and successfully crossed the quantum storm region. The aliens were impressed not just by the solution, but by the way Michelle had approached the problem. She had seen a challenge where they saw only an obstacle. Her Deathworld origins had given her a different perspective on what was possible. The third test was moral. The Council received a distress call from a remote world where a plague was killing millions of people. The planet was dangerous, with a toxic atmosphere and unstable weather. Most species considered it too risky to attempt a rescue mission. The Council decided to see how humans would respond to this crisis. Dr. Alex Murphy volunteered to lead a medical team to the plague world. He knew the mission was dangerous, but he also knew that people were dying. Alex had spent his career fighting diseases on Earth, where bacteria and viruses were constant threats. He was used to working in dangerous conditions. The Alien Council expected Alex to demand payment or guarantees of safety before agreeing to the mission. Instead, Alex asked only for the fastest ship available and a team of volunteers. He was ready to risk his life to save people he had never met, simply because it was the right thing to do. Alex and his team worked for 2 weeks on the plague world. They developed a cure using human medical techniques combined with alien technology. The atmosphere was toxic, the weather was violent, and the disease was deadly. But the human team never complained or asked to leave. They stayed until everyone was safe. The aliens watched in amazement as humans worked in conditions that would have killed most species. Alex's team treated the plague world like it was just another day at the office. They were used to dangerous environments and deadly diseases. What seemed impossible to the aliens was routine work for humans. The fourth and final test came unexpectedly. A group of space pirates attacked a Council trade convoy near the edge of known space. The pirates were ruthless criminals who had been raiding peaceful worlds for years. The alien ships were not designed for combat and had no way to defend themselves. Captain Steve Wright and his crew aboard the Starship Defiant were the closest human vessel to the attack. When they received the distress call, Steve didn't hesitate. He ordered his ship to jump to the convoy's location immediately. The aliens expected humans to ask for payment or permission before risking their lives for strangers. The battle was fierce but brief. The human ship was smaller than the pirate vessels, but it was designed for combat. Steve used tactics that the pirates had never seen before. He attacked from unexpected angles, used the convoy ships as cover, and fought with an intensity that shocked everyone watching. The pirates were defeated, but the Defiant had taken heavy damage. When the alien convoy commander asked why humans had risked their lives for people they didn't know, Steve's answer was simple. He said it was the right thing to do. Humans protect those who cannot protect themselves. The 4 tests were complete, and the results were clear. Humans could negotiate complex agreements, solve impossible problems, help others in danger, and fight when necessary. They had shown that they were not just survivors of a death world, but potential leaders in galactic civilization. But the most important lesson was not about human abilities, it was about human character. Every test had shown that humans were willing to risk everything to help others. They had faced every challenge with courage, determination, and a sense of duty that impressed even the most skeptical aliens. The Galactic Council prepared for their final vote on human membership. The creatures from the Deathworld had proven themselves worthy of trust. Now the galaxy would have to decide if they were ready to work with the most dangerous species they had ever encountered. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, every single member of the council agreed on something. Humanity would be welcomed into galactic civilization, but they would have a special role unlike any other species. While other races contributed art, science, or philosophy, humans would become the galaxy's protectors and problem solvers. High Counselor Zethron announced the decision to a packed chamber. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness this historic moment. The creatures from the Death World had passed every test and proven themselves worthy of trust. More importantly, they had shown abilities that the galaxy desperately needed. Admiral Kate Thompson was the first human to receive the news. She had been waiting on her ship just outside Council space for 3 days, ready to return to Earth if the vote went badly. Instead, she found herself appointed as the first human representative to the Council Defense Force. Her job would be to establish human colonies on the galaxy's most dangerous worlds. The irony was not lost on Kate. The aliens had originally labeled Earth as too dangerous to visit. Now they wanted humans to live on planets that were even more hostile than Earth. The galaxy needed people who could survive in places where other species could not go. Earth's harsh conditions had created exactly the kind of people the galaxy was looking for. Kate's first assignment was to establish a research station on Keth's Prime, a world that even the aliens considered extremely dangerous. The planet had acid rain that could dissolve metal, plants that could eat anything that touched them, and weather patterns that changed without warning. It was the perfect place to test human adaptability. Dr. Helen Brooks volunteered to lead the first human settlement on Keth Prime. She had spent years studying extreme environments on Earth and was excited by the challenge of working on an alien world. Helen brought a team of scientists, engineers, and explorers who were all eager to prove that humans could thrive anywhere. The landing on Keth Prime was difficult. The shuttle had to navigate through storms that would have destroyed most alien ships. The acid rain immediately began eating through the ship's outer hull. But the human-designed protective coating held long enough for them to reach the surface safely. Helen's team set up their base in a valley that offered some protection from the worst weather. They used building techniques developed on Earth for extreme environments. The structures were designed to survive acid rain, violent storms, and attacks from the planet's hostile wildlife. Within weeks, the human settlement was not just surviving, but thriving. Helen's team had found ways to neutralize the acid rain and turn it into clean water. They had learned to avoid the dangerous plants and even found some that could be used for food and medicine. Most importantly, they had proven that humans could make a home on worlds that other species considered uninhabitable. The success on Keth Prime opened new possibilities for the galaxy. There were hundreds of worlds that contained valuable resources, but were too dangerous for most species to visit. With human colonies providing safe bases, these worlds could finally be explored and developed. Dr. Marcus Lee established the second human outpost on Vortex Station, a world where the gravity changed constantly and the ground moved like liquid. The planet had rare minerals that were essential for building faster-than-light engines. But no alien species had ever been able to work there for more than a few hours. Marcus and his team used their experience with Earth's earthquakes and volcanic activity to design equipment that could work in the unstable environment. They developed new mining techniques that could extract minerals even while the ground was shifting. Within months, they were producing more rare materials than the rest of the galaxy combined. The third outpost was even more challenging. Captain Lucy Davis took her team to the edge of known space, where dangerous energy storms made exploration impossible for most species. The region was thought to contain entire solar systems full of habitable planets, but no one had ever been able to get close enough to find out. Lucy's team used modified, human ships that could survive the energy storms. They found not just habitable planets, but entire civilizations that had been cut off from the galaxy for thousands of years. These isolated peoples had developed their own technologies and cultures, adding new knowledge and diversity to galactic civilization. Back on Earth, the news of humanity's acceptance into the galactic community had mixed reactions. Some people were excited about the opportunities to explore new worlds and learn from alien civilizations. Others were worried about losing human independence or being changed by contact with aliens. President Ellen Carter addressed the world in a special broadcast. She explained that humanity's role in the galaxy was not to become like other species, but to remain uniquely human. Earth's harsh conditions had created people who were tough, adaptable, and willing to face any challenge. These qualities were exactly what the galaxy needed. Young people especially embraced the new opportunities. Schools began teaching alien languages and galactic history. Universities started programs in xenobiology and interstellar engineering. Children who had grown up thinking Earth was just another planet now learned that their homeworld was considered the most dangerous place in the galaxy. The military also adapted to the new reality. General Frank Miller reorganized Earth's defense forces to work with alien technology while maintaining human tactical advantages. Human soldiers began training for missions on worlds where other species could not survive. They became the galaxy's emergency response team, ready to help wherever danger threatened. Trade between Earth and alien worlds began slowly, but grew quickly. Humans traded their expertise in dangerous environments for alien technology and knowledge. Earth became known as the place to find people who could solve impossible problems and work in conditions that would kill anyone else. Captain Tony Garcia piloted the first human diplomatic vessel to the galactic core, where the most advanced civilizations lived. The ship carried ambassadors, scientists, and cultural representatives who would establish permanent human embassies throughout the galaxy. The journey to the galactic core took several months. Even with alien faster-than-light technology, Tony's ship passed through regions of space that were beautiful but deadly. They saw stars being born in violent explosions, black holes that could tear apart entire solar systems, and cosmic storms that lasted for centuries. Each dangerous region they passed through reminded Tony why humans were so valuable to galactic civilization. Other species saw these cosmic phenomena as obstacles to be avoided. Humans saw them as challenges to be overcome, where aliens built careful routes around danger. Humans found ways to go straight through at the galactic core. Tony and his team were welcomed by representatives from the oldest and most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. These ancient beings had lived for thousands of years and had seen many species rise and fall. They were amazed by humanity's rapid development and unique abilities. The elder beings shared secrets of the galaxy that few species were trusted to know. They told Tony about ancient threats that slept in the void between galaxies, dangers that might one day return to threaten all life. They explained that the galaxy needed guardians who could face any threat, no matter how terrible. As Tony listened to these revelations, he understood why humanity had been accepted so quickly into galactic civilization. The aliens were not just impressed by human abilities. They were afraid of what might be coming. They needed people who could fight battles that other species could not even imagine. The message Tony sent back to Earth was both exciting and sobering. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy as protectors and explorers. It would have access to wonders beyond imagination and opportunities to grow beyond anything they had dreamed. But they would also face responsibilities that no species had ever carried before. Earth had been labeled a Deathworld by the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. So the people who had survived and thrived on such a dangerous planet were exactly what the galaxy needed. Humans were no longer just inhabitants of a death world. They were the death world's greatest achievement, the galaxy's best hope for the future. The stars were calling, and humanity was ready to answer. They had conquered the ultimate death world and made it home. Now they would help make the entire galaxy a safer place for all life to flourish.